very much for joining us on Express Update. My name is Amanda Asanto-Adupe, and today on our updates, we will be discussing the legal tussles over the funeral of late Ga Manye na Dede Omaduro III. Please do stay tuned. You're welcome back, and you're still watching the Express Update. And on our updates today, we're discussing the legal tussles over the funeral of late Dede Omaduro III. And in the studios with me is a law student from UPSA. Hello, Mr. Mohammed Aman.
Hello, Amanda.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. So we're going to have a discussion of the recent happenings on the injunction that pertains to the burial of funeral rites of the Ga Manye.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we are previewed to initial injunction that was applied by the bereaved family on the 23rd of September. Yeah. And we want to probe further. There are new developments in the ruling that Justice Patrick Bayer has brought out, even as of yesterday. So if you can speak to us about the initial motive of the first injunction by the bereaved family.
Okay, so thank you very much, and then my greetings to all your viewers.
Right.
The first application was filed on the 23rd of October by a section of the family of the late Ga Manye.
Right.
And then their motive, from my understanding, was that the traditional council, that's the funeral planning committee of the traditional council, were going ahead with the process of the funeral without involving them. And so because of that, they filed to the court to get the court to injunct the funeral planning committee so as to stop them from going ahead with the funeral. And the basis was that they were going ahead with the funeral without involving the family.
Right.
And so that is why they went to court seeking the injunction on the 23rd of October, 2023, this year, obviously. And that injunction was granted on the 25th of October by the Justice of the High Court, Justice Patrick Bayer.
Yeah.
So it was granted on the 25th of October, 2023. Yes, stopping the funeral planning committee from going ahead with the funeral processes.
Okay, very well. And I think what we also want to find out, per the rulings that we had on the injunction that was granted, the period was stated for 10 days. We would want to know what's the duration, the longest or shortest duration that an injunction is supposed to hold.
Okay, so basically the kind of injunction that they sought was an interim injunction.
Okay.
In law, we have what you call the interim injunction and a perpetual injunction.
Okay.
So a perpetual injunction stands forever and ever.
Right.
Until the person you are injuncting dies. It's against them forever. And an interim injunction is for a specific time.
Okay.
So this one was an interim injunction that they sought. And they went ex parte. Ex parte means that you just, apply to the court without coming on notice to the other party in the case, or the party that you are injuncting. So usually what the court do is that when you go ex parte seeking an injunction, they will grant the injunction, but they will grant it for only 10 days.
Right.
So if the 10 days elapses, then you now have to come on notice before the court, seeking further, remedies. That's injunction in this matter. So because it was ex parte, the courts will grant it for 10 days, which is what happened in this case. So it was just for 10 days, after which the family will have to come on notice to further injunct the traditional council or the funeral planning committee from going ahead with the funeral processes.
Right. I'm happy you mentioned notice because in a recent interview where we have Mr. Ayikwe Otu, who is also a lawyer, and in an interview mentioned that he was not, the council, or in this case the planning committee, was not served of this notice in terms of the injunction.
Yeah, so basically what it means is that, there's a rule in law which we call natural justice. It has two legs. One leg says don't be a judge in your own case. So in a case that you have an interest in, don't be a judge. The second one talks about hearing the other side.
Right.
And it's contingent on fairness. You
Right.
need to be fair. The court must be fair. You don't just have to hear one side and then come to a conclusion. So you always have to hear the other side. And so in injunctions, when it is granted, you have to serve the person you are injuncting. Okay. Otherwise, the order that was granted to you by the High Court is very, useless, if I may use that word. So if you don't serve that other side, they are not on notice. They don't know they don't even know anything. So even if it is circulating on social media, it is, about people are telling you, like for instance, if I have a case with you and I want to injunct you and I go to court and then I say, I want you to be injuncted from doing ABC, and the court grants it. Even if your mother or your brother comes to tell you that, oh, Amanda, I heard Aman has injuncted you, it doesn't apply. Because in law, service must be personal. Right. I need to serve you personally. So if you are not served personally, then it means the injunction is of no effect. And that is why I believe the former Attorney General, who is now president of the Ga Manye committee, said that they were not served. And so if they are able to prove at the time that they were not served, what it means is that the injunction against them didn't hold. Right. So that is why I believe he was saying that they were not served, because if you don't serve me, then who are you injuncting? Because obviously, I don't know what you went to do in court. So basically, that's the reason why he was saying that they were not served, even if it was circulating on social media. Because, like I said, service must be personal.
Right. Yeah. And following up with that, if indeed they were not served, just yesterday there was a new ruling on the same matter. Yes. And so obviously, you might have gotten the notice to have also gone in to have another application of an injunction on the same matter. Yeah. And so what is the defendant's case in this matter?
So basically, usually what people do is that when there is an order for injunction that is granted, what they do is they try to evade service. Right. So you try to find them, they will evade them, you not get them. Because like I said, if you don't serve me, there is no injunction on me. So that is what they usually do. I don't know, and I'm not saying that is what's happened in this case. But obviously, like you are saying, the following day, the injunction was set aside. Yeah. Why was the injunction set aside? It means that the traditional council applied to the court, seeking it to set aside the injunction that they granted on the 25th of October. So I believe that if he was saying that they were not served, then what it means is that maybe they were served later. I don't know. Okay. Yes, maybe they were served later. And so if they were served later, then it means that they later applied to the court, because he was the lawyer on record. Right. He was one of the lawyers on record who applied to the court seeking to get the injunction set aside. So basically, that's it. So I believe maybe they were served later and then they applied to the court to get it set aside, which the court obviously did. Right. So the court granted their request, saying that the injunction that was granted earlier on the 25th of October was granted in error. The reason that the court gave was that the family that applied for the injunction were not truthful to the court. They didn't represent the entirety of the matter to the court. Okay. So because of that, they were setting it aside on the basis of error. They were saying that it was an error for the court to have granted the injunction. So the court reversed its own decision, saying that the injunction we granted was in error. Because if you are coming to court, there's an equitable maxim that says that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Yeah. I'm sure we've all heard this before. Yes. So if you go to court and you are not clear to the court, and later the court finds out, even if they granted you a remedy, it may be based on the fact that you were not, truthful. Yeah. And then, set aside the remedy that they gave you.
Absolutely. And so, with this recent ruling, what's the way forward?
The way forward is clear. Now, in simple terms, there is no injunction any longer, because one party went to court seeking an injunction. It was granted, but later it was set aside. So clearly, as you and I sit here today, from what I know, there is no longer no injunction. There is no longer any injunction, and that whole. And so obviously, the traditional council can go ahead with whatever they want to do, because had it not been the case and the injunction wasn't reversed, it wasn't set aside, what would have meant is that if the traditional council or the funeral planning committee of the council had gone ahead to, do the funeral, then they would have been found in contempt of court.
Right.
Yes, but that is not the case now. So the party that went to the court applying for the injunction will then go back to court saying that the injunction you granted was not obeyed by the party that you injuncted.
Right.
And so you need to find them in contempt of court. And so the court will weigh, the issue. And then if they find you in contempt, you may be fined or you may be jailed. And for a corporation like the traditional council, I don't think a custodial sentence will do.
Okay.
Usually what the court does with such, entities is that they grant a fine. They impose a fine, and then the fine will be a very hefty one. And another argument that the council were also making from my findings was that the family didn't sue the council. Everybody, whether it's an entity or an individual, even if it's not an individual, it's a corporate body or whatever it is, can sue and be sued.
Yeah.
So on the face of the application that was in court, it wasn't the council that they sued. They sued individual members of the council. They sued the chairman and the secretary of the council.
Okay.
So there was the near equal to, I heard him in one of his interviews, was saying that if you are going to court seeking an injunction against an activity of the council, it is the council that you are supposed to sue, not individuals. Because in law, these corporations or these bodies are legal personalities. They are legal personalities on their own, meaning that they can sue people and people can also sue them, even though they are not human beings per se. So that is one of the argument they were making that I think I should have. So basically, to conclude on the question you just asked me, there is currently no injunction pending, and the traditional council can go ahead with whatever they want to do with regards to the funeral.
Right. So in simple terms, we are good to go.
That's it. We are good to go in simple terms. Basically, everything is fine now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to you, our viewers, we are most grateful that you could join us. Again, the funeral of Ga Manye, the late Nade De Omejo III, is set to take place tomorrow on the 28th of October, 2023. Many thanks for joining us, and thank you to you, Mohammed Aman, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Please do enjoy the rest of our programs. My name is Amanda Santo Adube.